It's the 107th edition of the tour. It's now ended. And now we have the discussion, which can begin. Best ever, Tainted, boring, or maybe a COVID super spreader? I don't know. Some reactions and results from stage 21. Did Jumbo or Roglic, did they fail? The Cannibal thinks so. Pogacar, can we believe his performance? Lance thinks so. Nairo, what you smuggling there, buddy? Some things that make you go, the ride of the tour, and who will win Worlds. This is September 2020, Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 203. Thank you for joining us and doing this whole slog with us across the tour in September, next 2 weeks. So we have the Giro coming up, and then we have the Vuelta overlapping with the Giro. We got a bunch of classics thrown in there. But next week is Worlds. So Lance Armstrong thinks that World Champion, it's too close, and you can't, the winner from the tour can't do the Worlds and do it good, especially with this climbing one. Sepp Kuss thinks the winner of the tour or a winner of the World will be someone from the tour. And then you have, I just saw an interview last night, our friend Jeff Linder, NorCal Cycling. I didn't even see this. He had done an interview with Chris Horner about 11 months or so ago, and they talked about winning the Vuelta in 2013, and that he came out of the Vuelta just like he said he was still flying, and he thought Worlds was the next week. He kept it running. He didn't, do the partying, didn't do whatever, and kept it into Worlds, and he felt fantastic. He did wreck and break some ribs on his back, so that didn't work out so well. So he thinks, and he said, and I could not verify this, but he thinks that his comment was that you see people from overwhelmingly winning the world championships who came out of the Vuelta. So his point, when, the World is typically after the Vuelta, this year it's coming up, whenever. So he says that's going to happen. So if that's the case with COVID, you're not going to probably see the big parties and get-togethers that you had. You then have to really look at Pogacar. Evidently, he's doing it. Roglic, he's doing it. Or will there be some sort of weird combo? Yanni Brajkovic, the old Slovenian, used to ride with Lance. He's evidently riding for them as well. Wout or Sepp. These are all guys that I don't know. I don't know what you're going to see and who's going to be the one you have there. So, but let's talk about the Tour de France. So anyway, next week is Worlds. It should be pretty exciting. But what we do have coming up is World Championships, but let's finish at least off with the Tour de France and see what we have here, and we'll get back to the results here. So stage 21 into Paris, 122 kilometers. There were points up for green. There were points up for the KOM. KOM didn't matter anymore, so I don't even care to who got that. I guess Sam Bennett ended up getting the preliminary sprint points for the green of the jersey on the intermediate, and then we saw what happened coming into Paris. Well, the whole team, they come into Paris. There's a short break. Schachmann's up the road. Who else do we have? We have, so by the way, Sagan, he basically had said, I read before Paris that he was basically just conceding the yellow or the green jersey. I don't know if that was some sort of mind ploy he was playing there to try to, or maybe he was just saving up for the final sprint. Winning the green jersey in Paris is not always an easy thing. But that was the hope that he had. Coming into Paris, we had Schachmann, Greg Van Avermaet, Connor Swift, and Pierre-Luc Perchon. They were all in a little bit of a break. You saw Pogacar getting to come in there. He's got a yellow bike. The word is it's a Cannibal. Well, that's what it is. But that is the first time that Cannibal frame has actually won the Tour de France. I guess Eddie Merckx had one repatriated for him, but it was under Merck's name, so it didn't really count. So you got old school Italian frame with Campanolo. So kind of the old school coming back there. Brakes caught with 7.5, 5 kilometers. The teams are working to the front. You had De Koyne, you had Sunweb, you had Jumbo looking in there, but I didn't see Roglic doing any work. You think maybe he'd do a little work for Wout because, that sprint, you've got to come out right at the front on the final corner there once they come through the little tunnel that they have anyway. Coming into that last corner, you had Morku leading out Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett was right in the front. He had said that he didn't want to take the front too quickly because there's a tad bit of a headwind. So he's on the wheel. And then Trek, they had lost Edward Twins about a kilometer to go. He had a little wreck, so he wasn't able to help Mads Peterson, last race, get to do it in the rainbow jersey. And they come around the corner. It's like 550, 600 to go. So it's a little too far out. Markov is starting to sprint lead out for Bennett, but then Trek hits the front. Bennett slots right in, pops around Peterson, and easily has a win on the Champs. You didn't see Caleb being able to get up there. Wow, it was like maybe 5th place. Viviani, did you know he was in the race? Yes, he's in the race. He was like 4th or 5th. And you had Sagan, I believe, in 3rd. So yeah, it was Bennett, Peterson, Sagan, Christoph. That was my pick. Viviani, Wout, Caleb, Hofstetter. Actually, I said Hofstetter, Cockard, and Walsheet. I also saw the masks on the podium, and it's a bummer that these guys are on the podium in Paris. There's no one around. Get those losers off the stand then. So if you're worried about social distancing, and let them come out without a mask and smile for the world. I mean, it's their one shot. Did they get to redo those photos so that at least up there and be able to smile? And otherwise, stupid masks that they put on. And then, what's the point when you're social distanced? You're out there in the middle of nowhere. You just did a flipping race around the country, and you didn't wear a mask when you're racing. So those guys next to you, you're not really worried about them either because you're hugging them. And that's also interesting too. You see them at the start line. They all have the masks on until then they take them off. You're like, but then you're with those people. Whatever. We'll do it. Jumbo. So anyway, that's the Tour. Sam Bennett wins green. Pogacar wins every other jersey. I guess it's the last time since 69 when Eddie Merckx had done something similar. I don't know if they had all the same jerseys back then, but, and the competition has changed over the years. So who knows exactly? How do you compare that? And do you then say he's the next Eddie Merckx? Probably not. Might be a little too early for that anyway. All right. So did Jumbo fail, or, what happens with that? Well, so speaking of the Cannibal, he came out and said, speaking to O'Keefe, Merckx told the French newspaper that Jumbo-Visma had played with fire by allowing Pogacar to remain so close to the top of the overall ranking so late in the race, enabling the young Slovenian to pounce on the final time trial. And he said, I saw it coming a mile away. You can talk to my wife. I was complaining about it the whole time. I don't know if he said complaining, but he was predicting it. It's a little bit much when the Tour winners come out and say things like armchair quarterbacks, backseat drivers, what have you, about some of it. Now, look, Merckx has every right to say all these things, but techniques and tactics, they've all changed a bit since he was in the game. And I know he's a pretty astute writer and commentator for all this, so it's fine. But so let's talk about that. What could have Jumbo did? Because look, they were a super strong team. Could they have helped Roglic in the time trial? Not legally. So there was really not much to do. Maybe it was the fact that their DS got kicked out after he went livid for someone basically destroying the bike that you see. That to me is an amazing story. And it's once again, you come up to a stop sign, you look both ways, you turn the corner, cop pulls you over, and you're like, no, I legitimately did this. And he's like, no, I didn't see it. What are you going to do? You're going to have some argument. Next thing you know, you're hauled into jail, and now it's resisting arrest. That's kind of what you have here. Someone's like, no, I'll have my mechanic do it. And this guy's like, no, I wrench on my wife's mountain bike, in the winter. It's perfectly fine. And then he's supposedly ruining it. I'd freak out too. That guy gets kicked out of the Tour, and maybe that was an issue. I doubt that's the issue, but just one less cog you have there to help you. Maybe it's something that helps stabilizes Roglic. The team couldn't help him. They were super strong coming into that. Let's talk about some of the errors they did make then. Stage 7, they caught Pogacar out on the wind. Well, he had a mechanical. He loses like a minute 28. The very next day, he takes off. Roglic follows him. Everyone comes back together. And then stage 8, and then he attacks again, and Roglic lets him go. Okay, and he ends up with 40 seconds. So you attack on another 40 seconds. He still ended up winning by 59. So that was only 40. It's still 19 seconds short there. So you got to have to come up with somewhere else. That was a problem. What about the Tom Dumoulin option number 2? Well, that was also the same day, stage 8. Kind of comes down to this. They really had capitalized the day before on stage 7. But what they did was they threw Sepp Kuss and George Bennett on the front to do a lot of work. Okay. The only day Sepp had trouble, the only day he had trouble was the very next day, the mountain stage. He got basically spit out early. He said, look, I didn't eat right. Maybe we didn't, whatever, but I was really feeling the effects from the crosswind day of doing a ton of work. He said that was the hardest day of the Tour for him. Hardest day with De La Loz coming up and everything else, at least in hindsight. So he gets put on the front Tom Dumoulin says, look, my legs aren't great. I'm going to go. And he ends up going to the front, and he does a lot of work that day, spits himself out. He loses time. He basically loses, I don't know, 7 minutes or so, and is out of the Tour GC running. Yet he still places like top 10 overall. So that was a bad day for them in a few respects. One is you lose Sepp. Sepp could have done the work instead of Tom. Tom felt like he had to do the work. He takes himself out of the running, and instead of now having this 1-2 punch, which is probably the only way you're going to get rid of Pogacar, make him chase. You get one guy up the road, make him do work, then you counter off of him, and you hope that that's enough to do it. It's worked well for Ineos, right? Wiggins, Froome, Thomas, Bernal, Thomas. And look, Steven Kruijswijk was another one that Jumbo was planning to have in the mix so they can do this exact thing and basically be able to play off of him, and he wasn't there. Let's see. We got a comment here. Eric Houston says, the race was also difficult to use normal tactics, as if there were COVID issues. The Tour supposed to stop. Yeah, not quite. Maybe the lead JV Jumbo-Visma to get and keep the jersey a little early and not wanting to chance to give it up by forcing Pogacar to work. Well, that's kind of the point there, right? Making them do the work and forcing that. But I think you're only going to be able to do it with the 1-2. And I think it was a bit of a mistake for Roglic to, like I said, to let Pogacar go that one day. You would just not allow him to claw back. You got to keep him as a serious threat. But you never know. I mean, well, you should have known at that point. Well, what about, so that's the Cannibal. He says, you don't believe him. They rode horribly, whatever. I don't know if you throw too much on Jumbo. They rode about as good as you could. Once again, you would have to have 2 minutes or so to come into that final time trial over Pogacar. And who expected that? They were talking about 9 seconds for the world or their national time trial championship being a difference there. So what about Pog Save Us? Pogacar, the internet now saying, oh, he's doped. I mean, he did like 6.9 to 7.1 watts per kilo up the final climb. We don't actually know because he didn't, we can estimate that, and that's what they do. But we didn't actually have his power. He didn't use a power meter and or computer that day, which is pretty impressive. He just put his head down and went all out. I think he did an amazing amount of recon. So he was saying, I knew every pothole, corner, blah, blah, blah. And then I think you mix into that Roglic just didn't feel it. And then he started to panic. You think, 59, 57 seconds coming into the day. And the more you're losing quickly, and that you're not just kind of going easy and then you're going to kill it for the hill. You're probably already going max and you're still not feeling it. And I think his watts per kilo was probably closer to 6 from what I could see on the reports there. But the internet's saying, hey, Pogacar, you beat Aru and Wiggins time up there. Well, okay, it was a time trial, and those guys have been riding a full stage. How many, up until that spot, he beat the crap out of everyone. I don't know. It's just kind of what it is. But the team's coming back. They're like, look, we're doing this metabolism testing, and he's just got a state that's unique. It's an ability that he has. He's able to recover much better than anybody else. It's an amazing recovery. He was, as a matter of fact, they said he was flying so fast that they had to stop. This is the part where I start to question things. They had to stop training for a week leading up to the Tour because he was going so good. And that seems a little weird. There's no confirmation though if he was born near a nuclear facility or if he got bit by a radioactive spider. So we're still leaving all options on the table. It could be almost anything. If you listen to the Lance podcast, you stop complaining about Pogacar being out of this world. I mean, it's if you listen to the podcast and you also are complaining about this, I don't want to hear from you in a sense, because this is entertainment, right? You should expect cheats. You should expect superhuman performances that are maybe part of cheating, but maybe also superhuman. And most importantly, you should be expected to be entertained. I mean, I know you're probably against cheating. I totally am too. And then don't give these former cheats a platform, right? I mean, I listen to Lance's podcast because it's entertaining me, and I want to know what kind of products he's hawking. So those two aspects, I got into it with someone online because I'm just like, good Lord, it's like the QVC. I really want to hear George Hincapie and some, break this down, and it's just excruciating. So someone's like, well, don't listen. I'm like, yeah, and actually I didn't yesterday. I kind of drew that out. But for me, like, I like to be entertained. So I'm going to keep watching these guys. I'm going to keep listening to these guys. I'm going to rip them when I think they're doing bad. And I honestly don't know what to think about Pogacar. He's so amazing, and it was such an amazing ride, that unbelievable ride. That's kind of the thing you say. Was it believable? I don't know. I guess that's just something we're going to have to kind of come back to. There was a pretty interesting part here. Let's go to, I think it was some things that make you go, I had listed here for money for the tour. And maybe we can show on our thing here who got what money from where. You had teams, UA Team Emirates. I think they were the biggest winners of the tour at over 700 and some thousand. And let's see if we can pull this up. All right, there we go. UAE, 60, it is in euros, 64,000 euros, 624,000. Geez. Jumbo 356, Trek 164, Movistar 138, Bahrain 112, Decoina, keeps going down. And let's see, Bora, they got 69,000. EF, did they get any money? I know they did. They got 60,000. So they get a little bit of a bump there. Mitchelton 41 at the bottom. Arkea Samsic at 15,600. And that's kind of what you were going to we're going to talk about them, because they have some issues, and some of those issues you're going to see coming up here pretty soon. Well, let's look at the team wins. By team prize money, we just talked about that. Oh, the riders of the prize money. You had the best, I think, coming out for obviously UAE team. What's his name? Pogacar. Yeah, that's the guy. Well, we'll get to that in just a second. So speaking of Arkea Samsic, at the bottom there, you had the Nairo mule. His team hotel was searched by French police for the Tour de France. According to L'Equipe, police also searched the rooms of Colombian riders Dyer Quintana, his brother, Winner Anacona, and as well as Team Soigneurs and Team Cars. Arkea Samsic were staying near Maribel after stage 17, the Col de la Loze. You assume, look, one thing you're going to look at is someone says, I saw online, like, hey, look, the police it's their health organization too. It wasn't done through WADA. I bet it was the police through their health. And it's suspected that it's some sort of doping issue. And you'd think that they would have at least relative evidence to at least produce this. I don't know what the standards are for, procuring a search warrant. It might be very, very low on this thing. I mean, talk about kicking them while you're down. Your last place team, you're not doing anything. Your main guy has not only had a big crash, he was into the bushes and some nettles that he was allergic to as well. He had quite the bad tour, and now they're being investigated for some sort of doping. Did they get the right room? Did they misunderstand Arkea and UAE? I don't know. That's what we're looking at now. How about the ride of the week? We'll just do in the month, actually. We'll just kind of break down some of these riders and give me an idea of what I think here. Nilson Palace, there's three Americans, Nilson Palace, Sepp Kuss, and TJ. So Nilson Palace, he had a 4th place on stage 6. He had a 5th place on stage 8. He was 9th in the white jersey, which was hours behind, by the way, because 3rd place in the white was almost 2 hours. Lots of TV time, several hard breaks, including the day Danny Martinez won, which was stage 17. 17th on stage 13. So Nilson Palace, he had done the Volta last year with Roglic and Sepp Kuss, and they won that. And then he comes out this year, and he had the pretty successful tour and got a lot of TV time. Good pub for him. Obviously, Sepp Kuss, though, I think the number one American, well, he was, as the GC goes. He was 15th on GC. He lost that 25 minutes that one day. But for that, it might move him up quite solidly. So you don't make him work in the crosswinds, which he shouldn't be as much. And maybe he's able to help Roglic that day a little bit better. 6th on stage 15, the Grand Colombier. 4th on stage 17, the Col de la Loze. 15th on GC. 12th in the Polka Dots. He was stellar, and he's going to get a lot of money. He got a lot of publicity. The the only rider left for his teammate many times. And things go different. He probably gets a chance for a stage win. TJ, well, he had a top 60th. That was stage 14. He was the captain for the 8th person on GC, I think there, what Iran got. He came up with the hashtag for stage 21, so he got some publicity. He also kept Mike Woods, what I consider Mike Woods, off the Tour de France team. That's my theory, and which I think is probably a bad idea. Sell, that's what Mark Tucker says. Sell what? What are we selling here? Give me some context. Let's look at teams. So UAE, they had Christophe and Pogacar with 4 wins, 3 jerseys. They did lose Fabiaru. The team said, dude's mental. They lost David Formolo, who had been up there for Tour Lombardy and a few other ones, Strade Bianca. So he was riding well. Those 2 big losses for them in the mountains. Obviously, it didn't matter too much. Mark Tucker said, Sup needs a better agent. Palace got way more interviews. That's true. That might be part of the team, though, Mark. Depending on what their restrictions are, they might have just not wanted him to. Actually, I will say I heard Sepp cuss a lot on some podcasts. So Velo News talked to him a bit. He talked to Peyton McElveen, his friend from Durango, during the tour. There's like a 30-minute interview with him there. That was pretty solid. Sunweb, 3 wins, great team tactics. Deceuninck Quickstep, 4 wins. Bennett with 2 or 3. Alaphilippe had 1. They had the yellow. They had the green they won the green. They had the yellow for a while. Jumbo, 3 wins. GC for most of the race. Trek, no wins, but Port got his 3rd place. Mads Peterson was close up there, a few top 3s and 7, I think they had. And he was showed the World Championship jersey well. And he took and they lost Bauke Mollema, so that was another blow to them. Bora, they did get a stage win. They had some close ones there as well. They also, what I thought was kind of shit the bed a few times. And then they also had some unfortunate Sagan. He just didn't look good this year. But he gets 2nd, gets 3rd a bunch. He just didn't get a stage win, and he didn't get his yellow jersey. But he was fighting, and I appreciate the fact that he made that green jersey competition fun and exciting for us the whole way. How about the French teams? You had AG2R. They did get 1 stage win with Bardet had issues though, but Nans Peters had that 1 stage. Cofidis, they were close a few times. Martin did fairly well in GC. I think he moved up top 10. B&B, Roland, and Cocard, they were active, but didn't get much out of that. FDJ, they had Madwa, like I said, 2nd. I think he's an hour 45 behind for the white jersey. Pinot, he looked kind of not stellar, but he did get a chance to shine in his hometown. At least the people acknowledged him, and he gave it a good run for the time trial. The Total Direct Energy, they had Croissant, I think, on stage 2, stage 3. He was out there, had bushy hair going for a while. And Arkea Samsic, 14th on GC, 2 top 10s, and 1 drug bust. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. And by the way, here's some other teams. Did you even know they raced? Arkea? Well, yeah, because they got some news about the drug bust and Nairo. Israel Startup Nation? Not really. NTT? Not really. They had Matt Gogol at that 1 stage out there. And CCC, other than Greg Van Avermaet a few times and Trentin trying to really mix it up and piss off Sagan. CCC, another quite a non-stellar tour for him as well. Anyway, people, we're going to do a world. We're probably going to go back to, when I say probably, I mean, we really are. We'll go back to once a week here. See what we can do with the Giro. I got a lot of stuff coming up. Is this pink? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to the Giro. Hope they get the weather in. Hope that COVID doesn't take it out. I didn't see that, we have no statistics as to how detrimental the tour was going through. I saw a reporter saying, I don't even know how it's going to happen in Spain. It's a hot spot. Well, so is France. And if you can show me the proof that this race going around the country was a spreader, then maybe you're the case. But the riders aren't getting it. And if the riders and the staff aren't getting it, then you're not getting it. Then you're not spreading it. Right. So if you had 4 people on the whole tour that got it, 1 quarantined and came back. I don't know, maybe Prudhomme was spreading it like crazy. Other than that, I don't know that it's really too big of a problem. Anyway, 203 episodes in the books, people. Oh, wait. Chris says, don't forget about CCC Zakarin descending prowess. Thank you. That was horrific. Nick Castor comes in with Simon was all over the front, though. Simon Geschke, his beard was beautiful, but still, did they get a win? They have an Olympic champion. They have Trentin, who's won 3 stages of the Vuelta. It just seems like they could have done better. Thanks, everybody. Take care.